Welcome to the Noble Podcast. In this podcast, we interview sales legends and share their secrets with the goal to help you improve your sales strategy. Welcome everyone to the Noble Podcast. And today we have a wonderful guest with us. It's Rehman Abdur. He has been in sales for over 15 years. And he's been quite on an adventure. He lived in Bahrain, in Berlin, in Amsterdam, and in Bucharest.
Also in Romania, in Bucharest, right.
Okay, wow. And he also started at MessageBird as one of the first sales reps and made 6 promotions, eventually became VP of sales for EMEA and then started his own company, Saber. I think we met each other somewhere along the way about 5 years ago. And always had great contact. You've been a great ambassador of Noble, so thanks a lot for that. And looking forward to dive a little bit deeper into your history and your story today.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have been the creator of the entire SaaS recruiting space in the Netherlands. So, of course, great to be here and great to partner with you on this.
That's a very nice title, so thanks. So let's start with your international adventures. I mean, you have a very interesting story, I reckon, to tell. So, can you tell us your story?
So I've lived in some 10 or 12 countries. Kid of an international school. Dad used to work for an airline. Grew up in multiple places in the Middle East, in Canada, in India, where my mom's from. And ended up moving to places like Bahrain, Brazil, Egypt, Romania, Germany, Netherlands. Spent some time in Portugal and some time in Southeast Asia. But Netherlands is home, and Amsterdam is where the heart is.
Nice. So you're not planning to move anytime soon now?
I think life's too short to say I'm not planning to move anywhere, but for now I feel settled here.
Perfect, cool. Yeah, and speaking about Amsterdam, MessageBird is of course born out of Amsterdam, one of the Netherlands' most successful tech companies, I think. You started as one of the first sales reps. You made 6 promotions in 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. All the way up to VP of Sales EMEA. My question is, what is your number one career tip for somebody who might be in the trenches now as an AE and want to become that VP of Sales one day?
I think the most important thing to know if you're in a sales career is that growth can only come when you're fully determined to make your current job exceptionally well and make sure that you're the best of the best in what you do. I think a lot of times I see sales reps having a bit of an attitude which ultimately ends them being labeled as lazy salespeople. I think there's a place where this all comes from. But ultimately, once you're determined that you're going to go above and beyond, you start thinking about the job differently. Everyone gets just 24 hours a day. And that's it. But some people are a hell of a lot more successful than the others. And the main reason behind that is just you need to have the drive. You need to take as many shots as possible. You can't be satisfied with having your quota as your target. Your quota needs to be the floor you need to hit. And once you start thinking in that direction, once you start thinking, what am I going to do to achieve 200%, 300%, 400%, you start taking different kind of decisions. You're not working a bunch of SMB deals. Of course, if you're starting in your career early on, SMB is what you likely only get to work with, and it's important to excel in that role. But do your utmost best to graduate from that role as soon as possible. And the only way you can do that is by being really, really exceptional and proving to your leadership that you are capable of more. And once you get to that point, just focus on where the money comes from and do not focus as the quota as your goal. Just focus on, if my quota for this year is 2.5 million, how do I end this year at 7.5 million? And then you're going to make drastically different decisions. A bunch of salespeople are genuinely happy when they receive an inbound. It's a 100K opportunity when you're carrying a multi-million euro quota. That should not be a thing. You should be open and okay to saying no to certain opportunities. And you should know that the bigger money is down the line with companies A, B, and C, and you need to have your full focus and energy going towards those kind of opportunities. There are ups and downs. Sales is a tough career because everything is driven by what you're able to achieve within a quarter. So you also cannot completely lose sight of the goals and the targets which have been assigned to you. So you need to work some smaller deals, but you can't put 80% of your energy in these smaller deals. Most of your energy needs to go towards your tier 1 accounts, and your tier 1 accounts cannot be more than 10 accounts.
Okay, that's an interesting answer. So let's unpack that a little bit. So you're saying basically, so I always say the Pareto principle applies in sales, right? So usually 20% of the sales reps account for 80% of the results. That's also what you're saying. Basically, don't be one of the lazy, so to speak, 80%, but make sure that you really want to become the best of the best. And what's your concrete tip then? How do you develop yourself to become the best of the best?
I was insanely lucky to work with some extraordinary salespeople. So I don't know if I have a direct tip in order for someone without a mentor to do this, but the number one tip then is going to be find someone exceptional around you. It could be someone within the same organization you're working in. It could be someone in a past job. It could be someone you've seen on LinkedIn. There are many, many people who are going to be there who are going to be ready to support you through this journey. Everyone who's gone up through the ranks is going to be open to support someone who's still trying to get up the ranks. So that's going to be the first and the most important tip. The number 2 tip is learn to do math. And it's very, very important to do math because not many salespeople start their year, once their quota has been assigned to them, they're not thinking, what is the exact number of pipeline I need to generate in order to hit that quota? They're not thinking, what is my win rate right now? Where exactly is my win rate dropping? And what skills and capabilities do I need to learn in order to become someone who can fasten my sales cycle and ultimately close many more of those deals, which are exceptional for the company?
I love that. So embrace the success metrics, make them your own, understand what you need to do to become a better version of yourself, basically.
Absolutely.
Nice, beautiful. Hey, and once you get into that leadership role, how was that for you back then? Because I often hear the best performers aren't necessarily the best leaders. How was that for you? Did you need to learn a lot of new skills, or was it quite natural to you?
It's a funny story. So my own self-reflection for my first sales role was that I absolutely sucked at my first sales role. So I wouldn't necessarily say that. I wouldn't necessarily say that the best salespeople are not great sales leaders or the best salespeople are great sales leaders. I just think that it is a skill to learn. And if you are someone who's come from the trenches, who've learned how to go from an SDR to an account executive, from an SMB role to an enterprise role to a strategic role, you pretty much have the growth mindset. That is the most important thing you need to have. You need to know that there's a lot you don't know, and there's a big delta you need to be able to bridge. Once you have that, you're going to know and recognize a bunch of your failures. And once you learn to recognize your failures, you're going to improve. Funny story around this. When I took over my first sales leadership job, little did I know, I was assigned a territory which in the history of the business was the worst performing territory. As I took up the job, it continued to be the worst performing sales territory. And I did not know if it is because of me or if it was because of the territory itself. So I passed some 6 to 8 months, and the business was very forgiving in helping me grow into becoming a sales leader, in helping me understand that it's a very different skill set of knowing what are the most important deals that you need to win as a sales leader and as a business leader versus coaching a team to get the same level of skills and capabilities and same level of confidence so they can autonomously go out and do that. After many, many months of trying and continuous failing, we had to rebuild the house from scratch. We had to get a whole new sales team. And when we got this entire new sales team, I decided to go against the traditional path. So some of my peers were looking at the biggest logos in the market. Can I get a rep from Salesforce to come and sell for us? Can I get a rep from Adobe to come and sell for us? Which are amazing logos, and I'm sure they have great salespeople in there. But the main rubric I was driven by is, does the salesperson have a chip on their shoulder? Are they hungry enough, and can they fight the fight? And are they determined to win? Once you have that, you can weaponize that, and then you're able to build a really, really successful sales organization based on a bunch of values, whether it's resilience, whether it's building an amazing culture, whether it's knowing how to share your failures, or whether it's ensuring that the team is on a continuous path of learning and training through weekly activities.
I love that. Love that. So basically, they're saying some of these soft skills are irreplaceable, like drive and hunger and the willingness to succeed. And those are maybe the most important, sort of characteristics of what makes a great account executive or what makes a great sales rep.
I would go as far as saying those characteristics are universal in terms of what makes someone successful, not only in a sales role, not only as a sales leader, not only as an entrepreneur, but absolutely in any profession that you're a part of. You need to have that mindset. You need to have that hunger. You need to have this drive to win.
I agree. I fully agree. And then let's translate that into hiring. So when you interview somebody, everybody's going to say, I have a lot of drive and I never give up, etc. So how do you cut through the noise and select that person that really has that drive? Any specific tips?
That's a fantastic question. So like most other companies, we had a very structured sales process. And this structured sales process included an HR round, a round with peers, a round with some hiring managers, et cetera, et cetera. So what I did the moment the candidate had passed stage 3 of the interview process, when there was a bit more confidence from across the team that this is going to be a good candidate, that is when I would deviate from the process. I would connect with the candidate over on WhatsApp with absolutely everyone I've hired. I've had multiple multi-hour calls in order to just talk to them and understand what their life background is and what actually drives them. And this became a main part to assess what someone's capable of and what drives them. And these would be very non-conventional questions I'd ask. I'd ask stuff about their parents. I'd ask where they grew up. I'd ask how many times they've moved countries, if they've moved countries at all, why they did not. I'd ask them about their biggest failures outside of the sales profession and ask them how they felt and what they did to overcome those failures. So a bunch of experiences outside of their day-to-day job to understand what kind of a person they really are and what they do in the light of challenges and whether they have the capacity to continue pushing and whether they're optimistic in general about life and if they're going to fight another day in order to win.
I love that. So the process is the process. And I think a lot of people can learn from this. You don't need to, stick fully to the process 100%, but you can take your own, interview stages to your own hands and make sure that you ask all the questions that you need because, that 1 hour or those 2 hours can only give so much answers, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another thing. I think everyone is smart enough, especially in the sales profession. We learn to lie to ourselves, and we're very, very good at interviewing generally, so people come prepared for their interviews. Companies announce or share in advance that these are the certain topics which are going to be covered. So everyone comes in their best form or best shape for these interviews. Yeah. But when you take a call on WhatsApp and you're talking about things which are non-traditional,
you're
which
off
are
guard.
Yeah, exactly. People are caught off guard. In some cases, they perform exceptionally well. In some cases, they just open up and they say, the most important thing to me is closing my laptop at 5 p.m. and that is it, which is great for some companies, but that did not work for us. And that was one of the rubric I was looking at when hiring people. Can they go above and beyond also when it comes to their time? Because the sales profession is not something which ends at 5 p.m. Whenever your clients are active, if you're able to respond to them, you're able to build more trust and eventually win that deal.
Yeah, 100%. And also when you take those WhatsApp calls, from your side, I mean, it does something else, and it's also build rapport with the candidate that you want to hire, right? So imagine if the candidate's also talking to 3 other hiring managers in other processes with other companies, but you're the person that is building this rapport for hours and hours long. That also puts you in a better position to actually hire your preferred candidate. So,
a sales process is not very different an interview process is not very different from a sales process, is it? No. You're trying to build the exact same trust with someone, except in an interview process, you have very, very little time. So you need to make sure that you're doing your best to build that trust. And like you said, Ladan, it's just that. There's 100%. Plenty of competition in the market. How do you stand out as the right company? And how do you stand out as the best sales leader that someone's willing to come and work for?
Yeah, super, super great point. So take notes, everyone. Hey, and then basically after your time at MessageBird, you decided to start your own company, which is Saber, which is a tool that helps other salespeople achieve their goals, basically. So how was that transition from you? Because I can imagine, you're working for a well-established company, then starting your own company, having to sell a product that's not known to the public yet. How was that when you transfer yourself in that period of time?
When I joined MessageBird, we were a small company. We're still operated out of a garage in Barschesberg. During that time, the early years, we experienced an insane amount of growth. And during my entire time there, we continued experiencing incredible growth. One of my partners in crime during my entire MessageBird experience, one of my close friends, was the VP of product at MessageBird. So we had some very healthy conflicts around how my team can go out and make even more money on the products that his team was building. And one of the things we kept rubbing our head against was initial velocity in building pipe and identifying what are the best companies in the market that we can sell our solutions to. We ended up investing a lot of money in buying some third-party solutions to help solve this problem. Unfortunately, none of them worked. Towards the end of the MessageBird experience, this partner in crime, who's now my current co-founder and the CEO of our company, Saber, we decided, hey, the next thing we do is going to be to solve this problem. So the main problem we had identified was you can hire a salesperson who is extremely skilled, who's extremely hungry, but most salespeople who are skilled, who are hungry, who have the capabilities are not failing only because they're not failing because they're not doing their job well, but they're failing because they don't know when to reach out to someone, whether someone's actually in market, exactly what to say when it comes to the challenges that person or that company is facing, and how to translate all of that and connect that with the solution they're selling. So the main thesis we came up with is every successful salesperson and every successful sales cycle starts with a signal which is representative of change within the prospect organization. So the entire offering of Saber revolves around giving sales rep the best signals that exist that help them understand the exact needs and challenges on an account level, exact needs and challenges on a contact level, and then finally connecting all of the dots to create messaging which do not scream AI or which do not look like a template. So when they reach out, they have the highest chance of hearing back from their prospect, which ultimately leads to closing more and more of those big enterprise deals.
Okay, interesting. And did you then use your own tool as well to get your own new clients, or how does your own sales process look like exactly?
We 100% use our own tool.
Eat your own dog food.
100%. Our sales process, we're 18 months into our journey. Our sales process completely is outbound driven. We use our own tool to get the right signals, to build the right list of companies that have either recently hired a salesperson or have hired a sales leader, or are out there looking for reps that are doing outbound. We use this intelligence. We get a few more signals for those companies. We use our own tool to then multi-thread into these companies, open those opportunities, and progress those opportunities.
Okay, that sounds quite sophisticated. And let's translate that to a situation of a sales rep that is currently doing outbound sales. What is the number one tip you can give someone who may not have all these tools to his or her availability? Like, what's your tip for doing outbound sales in 2025?
Especially since the advent of AI tools, ChatGPT, et cetera, buyers are receiving more unsolicited messages than ever before. It has become extremely difficult for a salesperson to stand out. The best way to stand out really is by building that trust early on. And the only way to build that trust early on is to have really deep intelligence into what someone is going through. So imagine you have absolutely no tools at your disposal. You're working off of a free LinkedIn account. All you can do is go on LinkedIn, look for a few companies, look for a few contacts. So be active on there. continue searching every day, using a few keywords to understand what changes are happening within the market. So as an example, if you're selling a MarTech solution, continue being on the lookout to understand which companies are hiring a new CMO or a new VP of marketing. What are the new tools that they're buying? Assess that based on the job descriptions which are on LinkedIn. Most companies would mention that, yes, we're using
XYZ, HubSpot.
We're using a Figma, or we're using a HubSpot marketing cloud, or we're using a Salesforce marketing cloud. You would get to learn their tech stack. You'd get to learn their exact needs and priorities, also driven by the job descriptions. Get all of that into a Google Doc. Create your own point of view on what's actually happening within that company. Once you have that, connect the dots to your own product. Once you're doing the first reach out, do not pitch your product. If you're reaching out to a large company, take a paper and a pen, draw the entire buying account map. Know who the CMO is, know who the VP of marketing is, know who the director of marketing is. When you do your first reach out, do not ever, in any circumstances, reach out all the way at the top. First, reach out to the first line managers or the second line managers. Only do discovery with them. Your goal here is not to sell.
Gather information, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be an information gatherer. Continue building your point of view. Continue getting to a point where you're able to send the CMO a message, something along the lines of, I spoke with your director of marketing, Vladan, who mentioned the challenges ABC. Do you also agree that these are the challenges you're facing? Until you do not get to that point, you don't have the right to reach out to the CMO. Once you have done all of your research, when you have spoken with the first line and second line managers and you have an entire point of view, then you're able to create a message which is impossible to reject for the CMO. Only then reach out, use your network, and then you're going to open doors with that company and with that CMO.
I love it. How many percentage of sales reps are doing it this way, you think? Like just an estimation.
Based on the customers we've closed, a very low percentage of sales reps actually do this, even in the most successful sales organizations. I expected the Pareto principle to apply here.
Yeah.
I think I've seen under 10% of sales reps successfully do this. I think in the sales profession, we tend to get too desperate. Sometimes we forget that our territories are limited. We have a list of 10 to 20 to 100 accounts that we can reach out to, and there's absolutely no way we can burn these accounts. We need to make sure that these relationships are some of the most important relationships for our career, and we don't necessarily behave that way when we're going to send a 14-step sequence saying, hi, I hope you're doing well.
Yeah. Fair enough. And also, I think this what you just mentioned is actually an advocacy on for sales, right? I mean, if you're starting out in sales and you're comparing this approach to indeed the sequencing and the random calling of people. I mean, this sounds so much cooler to do and so much more exciting and strategic. And it's actually a way that you can build your career in sales as opposed to just blasting messages out there and emails and everything. So something really to think about.
The best salespeople I've met are also content creators. By that, I'm not referring to the podcast we're doing right now. I'm referring to these people creating either videos that they would send across to get attention, or they would create audio notes to send across and get attention, or they'll create specific decks.
Documents for
or
that
documents.
buyer persona of that or that person, 100%.
Exactly. And by doing that, they're also showing that I have committed my time.
Invested, exactly.
To serving something, especially for you, that is going to be a hell of a lot useful to you. And that is how trust is built early on, especially in a marketplace. Again, talking about MarTech, there are over 100,000 MarTech companies out there, and you need to stand out against those.
Nice. Thanks for all your great tips today, Rehman. And thank you for our partnership in general. Really looking forward to seeing Saber and the growth journey ahead. And I'm pretty sure that you have a lot to offer to reps out there. So if you're interested in following Rehman, make sure to add him on LinkedIn or give him an email. And if you want to hear more of this kind of content, make sure to follow this podcast. We have more guests lined up. So thanks again, and I wish you a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me here.
All right, cheers.